you done now?
Then more screaming. Yvette, the billiard room. We all rushed up. But one of us wasn't here. No.
No?
No. Maybe one of us was murdering the cook. Who wasn't here with us?
Do you know?
I do. While we stood here, trying to stop Yvette from panicking, one of us could have stayed in the study, picked up the dagger, run down the hall, and stabbed the cook.
Oh, how could he risk it? We might have seen him running back.
Not if they used this secret passage. And the murderer ran back down the secret passage to the study.
That where it comes out?
Yes, look!
What? How did you know?
This house belongs to a friend of mine I've known all along.
So you could be the murderer.
Don't be ridiculous. If I was the murderer, why would I reveal to you how I did it?
Well, who else knew about the secret passage?
We found it, Colonel Mustard and me.
You found it. You could have...
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cluedo Movie Podcast, where we break down the 1985 cult classic movie Clue. No. 1 minute at a time. My name is Brad Gilmore, joined by General Jeff Smith. Jeff, we're coming on minute 72. Actually,
good minute.
Since the beginning of the Wadsworth reveal, this is, I think, my favorite one so far.
I was gonna say it has two of my favorite classic lines, but Cluevians do love it. I love Neaux, and I love that he could make the word "run" like 4 syllables with the roll of the tongue. Run down the hall.
Yes, and what I like about the run down the hall, or no, I like right before he does the grab the dagger, where he grabs the dagger.
Oh, that close up.
The close up is great. I love the close up. It's a half second, but those are the things that stand out to me when I'm watching the movie. I'm like, oh, what a great close up shot.
I think you'd love to see like the setup. You know, the camera's right there by the table, and the knife is on, or the dagger is on the table, and like action. And Tim Curry has to lean his face down, make that maniacal look right into towards the lens, and then get back up. They're like, okay, let's do another one, another face. And then, like, how many takes do you think it was him picking up the dagger?
I think that was the one and only. That's what I want to think, at least. I want to think it was the one and only.
Entire movie, but
right,
we know because we've seen alternate things.
Well, so in this one, there's a couple other things that are real fun. So there's a few things that we should also break down. But before we get to it, last week you teased something about Officer Bill that a listener sent to us. And I want to get into what this could possibly be.
Okay, this shouldn't take too long, but John Van Sant on Clue documentary Facebook page wrote, "Love the doc and the podcast. One question: why is a New England cop on a Washington Madams payroll?" And yes, and first of all, John, very efficient, succinct question, because that says it all right there, and it says everything in very little time. We do not have that gift of less gab. So good on John. You should have a podcast. It could be 10 seconds long. And my reaction to John was like, yeah, you're right. And mine was much longer, where he said, yeah, that makes no sense. Why, if he is a Washington cop,
okay, which
is a 10-hour drive to the lowest point of New England, how is he involved with Miss Scarlett up 10 hours north anyway, and why would he be the one that can keep the rest of the law at bay? Officer Bill, who we've kind of deemed is not great at his job, but maybe he is.
Right. It's so actually it's very concerning. Actually.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a very long distance. It would be like, what's 10 hours away from Houston?
Well, you're still in Texas.
Yeah, I know.
But you're almost to El Paso.
Okay, so do you feel like you could do good work, undercover work in El Paso in 1954?
No.
See, I like to paint the picture so Texans can understand.
Well, thank you for considering us, because although we're the largest state in landmass in the continental United States.
No, continental, yeah. Kudos to Alaska.
Shout out to Alaska. Y'all are big, man. Y'all are big. Not a lot of you there,
No.
But y'all are big. It takes forever to get out of Texas, you know?
And I imagine a lot of people that come to Texas, when they get there, they're like, "Ooh, we want to do a day trip to,"
Yeah.
like they come to Houston, and
I
they're
had, I
like,
had a
"Hey, can we?"
friend. I had a friend flying into Dallas from Pennsylvania,
Right.
and he was like, "Hey, can we meet for lunch?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Huh? It's 4 hours away from me. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?" No.
Now, I'll admit I'm gullible with that as well because my dear lady, who I love, her son lives in Dallas,
Mm.
and we've been talking about, for especially now that we're getting closer to the Clue movie podcast finale, like, you know, me making the trip to Houston to, do it all in person. I'm like, okay, great. I'll go to Houston and see Brad, and then you can go to Dallas and see the son. And she's like, they're not close, you silly goose. That's
No.
that's 2 trips.
No.
We're going 2 different places.
You know, a good meeting spot would be Austin. Austin's a great town. It's only about 2 hours away. Have you been? Nay, you been to Texas? Have we established this?
I've been in the Dallas Fort Worth airport.
Airport. That's right.
Like
That's right.
most people have. That's a lot of people's their layover.
Yeah, the DFW, as we call it.
Yeah.
DFW. Yeah. You must have been flying American, one would presume.
Yeah, probably was.
Probably was.
Yeah, it's been a while because I haven't flown American in a while, and I spent a lot of time landing in Newark.
Do you have an airline of choice?
No,
No.
I have no real loyalty.
No. There's some airlines I just won't travel. Like I just
Really?
won't do it. I won't do.
I've never been on Spirit.
That's what I was about to say. I won't do Spirit or Frontier. I just can't do it. And every
Yeah.
time they dangle that price in front of me, and I go, man, that's
yeah.
considerably cheaper. But I've seen
My
too many
brother
videos.
Brad flies on either Spirit or Frontier because he flies to Orlando a lot with his family, and they'll do the red eye of one of those airlines. And then I'll ask how was your trip? And he goes, oh, we got stuck for a couple extra days because airline problem. I'm like, yeah, I would expect that. That's kind of like part of the package, right? Like if you get on the first time, I would just be waiting the entire time. Like we're gonna parachute out or something. This is not.
Yeah, I have so many
what you pay
issues.
for.
I have so many issues with it. And then the other thing is going back to the DFW airport, and then we'll circle back to Officer Bill. Last time I was in the Dallas Fort Worth airport, I actually had a gig, and they were like, "Hey, you could either drive, and we'll cover your mileage, or we'll fly you out and just fly you back later that day." I said, "Well, that sounds excellent. Let's just do that." You know.
It's like
So it was actually a two-nighter. So yeah, I flew in on a Friday. I was going to fly out on a Sunday. And so I go to the Dallas Fort Worth airport on that Sunday, ready for my trip. But one thing they have figured out is if you have a rental car or you want to park, you can actually park right in front of your gate area, which is phenomenal. So I'm like, this is revolutionary. I go into the airport, I check in, boom, get to the terminal. My flight was supposed to be at I believe like 8:30, and I was going to land in Houston at 9:10 or something like that. Okay, great. Love it. So I'm there. Flight gets delayed. As soon as I sit down, it gets delayed 30 minutes. I'm like, damn it.
you can't be delayed because you're already supposed to be there.
Right. So it's delayed as soon as I sit down. I said, that sucks. And then I kill a little time. It gets delayed again. Right. And then this is, once you, and I'm sure this happened to you, once you travel enough, you're like, okay, this is not a good sign. Like, you get delayed once.
They never tell you the delay is going to be 6 hours. They like to do it in chunks.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So they're like, let's just slowly break the news to them. So it's delayed again, delayed again, delayed again. My phone's starting to die at this moment, and I don't have a charger with me, which was I wasn't thinking fourth dimensionally. And so I go to get a charger there was a 7-Eleven in the airport. I go to get a phone charger. I grab it. There's no price on it, which is always like, I wonder what they're going to hit me with.
But I'm sure at the airport, it'll be very reasonably priced.
I get up to the checkout counter, and they're like, that'll be $60. And I said, for the phone charger? I said, I just want the charger. I don't want the phone plan with it.
I want the phone as well.
And then she's like, no, and I was so fed up, and this is normally not my character because I'm normally very even-keeled and level-headed. And I would normally say, well, that's okay. I'm not going to get it. And I remember looking at her, because I was annoyed, and I said, you've got to be kidding me, right? And then she goes, no, that's how much it costs. And I just walked away. I didn't even go to put it back. I just walked away because I was so angry. My phone's dying. And then I get back to the gate. We're supposed to start boarding about 10 minutes, and then it gets delayed to midnight. It goes from a 10 to a 12 delay. And they come on the loudspeaker, and they say, ladies and gentlemen, we're sorry about the delay. We'll be updating you on what time we're going to take off here momentarily. As soon as, and this was the kicker, as soon as we're able to locate the pilot. And I go, wait a minute. Wait.
Not locate a pilot.
Locate the pilot.
The pilot. This pilot has gone missing.
So the pilot's missing. We don't know where the pilot is. And, that's really reassuring before you get on a flight.
He's not good with direction, everybody, but we'll find him, and then he'll be the one in charge of your lives.
He might be ending a 3-day, drunken
Bender?
stupor. Yeah, bender. But
Guys,
as soon as we get him,
give him a break.
we'll get you home.
Super hungover. Just don't make any loud noises on the plane.
And so by the time I actually got to board the plane and get home, I could have driven back to Houston faster.
Yeah.
So I should have just
So
drove.
what did we learn from that
drive.
experience?
If you can drive, do it. If you can drive, do it. Make the drive.
But you also learned, because I've been in that situation too, where I've gotten on the plane and been like comfortable, and then nope, everybody off, and that plane did not take off. So like I had my carry-on I had already checked everything. Like I didn't have things like assuming that if I had to go to a hotel or go back home, if my bags were already on the plane, but that plane's not going anywhere. So I assume the worst. My carry-on bag looks like I'm expecting the SS Minnow to not come back after a 3-hour tour. I will be on an island, and I've got definitely a phone charger and a charged phone so I can listen to Clue the Movie Podcast and all the fine programs on Gilmore Media.
That's right.
LLC. Which is also on YouTube, by the way.
Yeah, man, you know what? I should have plugged that in the last episode. You can go subscribe to Gilmore Media, and you'll actually see some videos of this show. Because I'm sure there are some people who've listened to this show every week, and they have no idea what we look like.
I noticed that episode, or minute 6,
is up there.
Is up there. And that's a long time ago.
I probably have all the minutes in video.
I don't necessarily think all should be posted because
that's true.
While you and I do this, like we can see each other, but actually the early ones, I think I did kind of like
put yourself together a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, because I thought, I'm going to be on. Now I've known Brad for a couple of years, and I'm like, these videos don't go anywhere. So it really is, especially now. It was a little easier when I was on East Coast, and I was later in the day when we started.
You had time.
So now that I'm on West Coast, I'm 2 hours earlier, and we've been doing these in the morning for me. And it's really been, and I work on Saturday nights, like up until like 2 a.m. So it's really been like roll out of bed and go, let's talk about Clue.
Which
maybe episode by episode we'll decide.
The West Coast has beautiful weather, but they really screw y'all on the time zone thing. You know what I mean? You don't get a lot of stuff live. Things are on tape delay, right?
Well, yeah, Saturday Night Live is definitely not live. But I think sporting events we do better, because I remember trying to watch anything sports in Massachusetts, and you have to stay up to like after midnight.
It's late. It is late
for a lot of games if they're played on the West Coast, because baseball starts at 5 here.
That's actually a great point, because last year WrestleMania was in LA, and I was at WrestleMania. This year it's going to be in Philadelphia, and the East Coast WrestleManias not as fun as the West Coast or Central WrestleManias, only because they're just so much later. Like you get out of there at 1 a.m. as opposed to, I think I was out of WrestleMania last year by like 10 o'clock, I think.
Okay.
So,
and the fun thing about West Coast that I had forgotten about until coming back, West Coast big events, is you never know what celebrity you're going to see there.
It's true.
Like if you go to just a regular concert anywhere, your chances are Johnny Depp is not going to get on the stage and play, but it could happen in California.
Well, I mean, last year at WrestleMania, I was walking through the backstage, and I was like, "Oh, hey, look, it's Snoop Dogg. What's up, Snoop?"
Yeah.
You know, and we snap a little shot, talk for a
Nice.
half second,
Yeah.
and you know, you see Snoop.
I
Doesn't
remember
happen as often here.
in the 90s, I went and saw Aerosmith and my favorite band of all time. And that's usually where the celebrities go. And on this particular one, I was able to get backstage passes. And while seeing Aerosmith was great, but also Jeff Goldblum was there. Weird Al Yankovic was just randomly backstage. Tom Arnold. They were filming the movie 9 Months with Hugh Grant and Julianne Moore. So Jeff Goldblum was there with Tom Arnold. They were hanging out. That's a duo. And then the bass player Rob from Stone Temple Pilots did not have as good of a backstage pass as we did, and asked me and my buddies to go find the head of Geffen Records, John Kolodner, and say, "Hey, can you tell him Rob from STP is here and needs to talk to him?" We're like, "Yeah, sure." We were like 18, and we're like, "Okay, excuse me, Mr. Kolodner, Rob from STP." And I wasn't a huge Stone Temple Pilots fan. I never
So
heard
you
them
weren't
referred to
really
it.
sure who he was.
I thought it was the motor oil. So I'm like, okay, STP.
STP. Now,
Isn't that a motor?
last thing that's not Clue related.
Sorry, everybody.
Before we jump over there, what is your feeling on Steven Tyler's acting performance in the Get Shorty sequel, Be Cool?
Oh, Be Cool. Oh, he's terrible. It's sad. It's so bad. That movie is so bad. Other than Vince Vaughn, that movie is terrible. And also, okay, no, he's so bad. That sweet emotion. Actually, Travolta's not good in that scene either. When they're talking and he's talking about his daughter, which, okay, as an Aerosmith fan, Sweet Emotion comes out in 1975. It is not about Steven Tyler being a dad, because he didn't even know he was Liv Tyler's dad yet in 1975. I don't think Liv Tyler was even born yet in 1975. And that song, I happen to know, is about Joe Perry, the guitar player of Aerosmith's either girlfriend or wife, and how much Steven Tyler can't stand her. That's what Sweet Emotion is about. So it's the first lines are talk about things that nobody cares. That's him talking about Joe Perry's significant other. So when Be Cool decided to make Sweet Emotion about being a dad or whatever it was, I just remember they're like sitting up in, was it Staples Center? Or
Yeah, they're in
whatever it is now.
Staples. Now I know
Yeah,
it's crypto.
sitting up there. They're sitting up there and talking. First of all, Be Cool. I love Get Shorty. Get Shorty is
Get
such a
Shorty's
great
excellent.
movie. So good. And Be Cool is so bad. It shouldn't even exist. But that scene even, I'm like, this is baloney, from the back of the crowd, a young Jeff Smith that is just like should be excited because there's so many good people in Be Cool, and Get Shorty is so good, and Aerosmith is my favorite band, and Vince Vaughn, who like I'm still like enjoying from Swingers. Yeah, Twinkle Twinkle. Yeah, he's good in that movie.
He's really
He
funny.
doesn't care. He's just doing Vince Vaughn stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't even matter what movie he's in. I want him to play. I want him to play his part in Lost World, like he did in Be Cool, though.
Oh,
That'd
man.
be fun.
People who've never seen Be Cool, like when you go through and you look at the cast, like let me read the cast off real quick. Just like I'm gonna read just some of them, okay? Just some, and then you'll realize how I don't know, stacked this cast is.
Yeah.
You have John Travolta, Uma Thurman, Christina Milian.
Reunited from Pulp Fiction, by the way.
Reunited from Pulp
Hey,
Fiction with a dancing scene in here. They have a dance scene to the Black Eyed Peas. John Travolta, Uma Thurman, Christina Milian, who I am still in love with, Dwayne Johnson, Vince Vaughn, Cedric the Entertainer, Andre 3000 from Outkast, Harvey Keitel, Danny DeVito, Seth Green, James Woods, all in this movie. And then there's
kind of funny opening scene. This is the first time I remember Dwayne Johnson like doing an acting part where he wasn't being The Rock.
Yeah.
And thinking, oh, this guy's good.
You know, it's funny because
he's actually not bad in that movie either. Now I think about it, I think
he's pretty good in it.
Dwayne Johnson's pretty good. Vince Vaughn is fine. Danny DeVito's barely in it.
He's there for
just kind of ties in from Get Shorty.
In the book, Be Cool, because I did read the book, because I was like, I wonder like if the book is good, and the book is better than the movie, but that's not surprising. But in the book, I'm thinking it had to been written for Dwayne Johnson, the part, because in the book, his character that he plays in the movie, which the book came out obviously before, is a gay Samoan, right? Which is already like, now The Rock's not gay, but he's Samoan, who wants to be an actor and constantly has a trick of raising one eyebrow.
Oh,
So it's like,
yeah,
and it was a former football player, so these are all, except for the gay thing, all
right.
The Rock.
That's just the twist on the character. Yeah, wow. Well, then,
So it's like, I don't think he had a choice. You had to cast The Rock.
yeah. Who was the other giant Samoan that raises an
His eyebrow, who used to be a football player.
they were going to go to? What was Plan B?
That is a great question. Who's
Yeah.
Plan B? Like, if Rock turned you down, you just write the character out.
So the next podcast Brad and I are going to do are the Be Cool movie podcast, and episode 1 will be who was going to play
The Rock. If The
the
Rock
Rock's
didn't
part,
take it.
not The Rock.
I
What's
do
his
like
character's name in that?
here,
Are
I'll
you on
pull it up.
IMDb?
It's right here.
Sorry.
Right here. Elliot Wilhelm.
Elliot. Yeah, okay.
Elliot. Vince Vaughn played Roger Lowenthal, aka Raji.
Twinkle, twinkle.
Twinkle Twinkle, baby.
2005. Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
but talking about like what could have been in roles, can we talk a little about Tim Curry?
yeah.
Before we wrap this up. Now, again, guys, I know y'all are probably thinking like they haven't talked about Clue at all yet, but you know what? These are remnant of the earlier episodes, where we would just go off on tangents.
This is not brand new.
I will say this. I don't know where the first time you saw Tim Curry was. It could have been this movie. This was not my first appearance of Tim Curry in my life. I knew when I saw this movie, I go, oh, that's the guy from Home Alone 2.
I thought that's what I was going to age you totally and go, you are definitely Home Alone 2.
Which he is so good in Home Alone 2. And I know people don't like, it's not as, Home Alone 2, not as good as Home Alone, I know. But it's a lot better than all the rest of the Home Alones that come after it. 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's much better than all of those. And I love Tim Curry in that movie, especially there's a few great scenes, you know, where he's a stolen credit card. You know, he's got a very, his line deliveries, I'm actually going to put on the same scale, get ready for this, as a Crispin Glover, to where their line deliveries are so specific to them. Like, it is their voice. No one else can do it the way that they manipulate the words to be delivered. Because Crispin Glover, if you think back, not only to Back to the Future, anything that he's been in, but especially Back to the Future, his voice is so specific in the way that he has these line deliveries. And I think the same of Tim Curry. We talked in the last episode. No. You know, it's a very, or earlier in this episode, I can't remember. But no is a very Tim Curry that no one else can really pull off. And stolen credit card. And there's even a line where he's like, I was just making the room sure the room was tidy. I can't even do it. And then there's another one where he's cheese pizza. I can't do the Tim Curry, but he's so good at it. That's my first memories of Tim Curry. What about you? Was it this movie?
Yeah, for me, Clue. It's Clue. And then I just was very delighted to see him pop up in other things. I'm a huge Muppet fan, so seeing him in Muppet Treasure Island is
Treasure
fantastic.
Island. Yes.
Yeah,
He
he's
plays
the human.
Long John Silver. No.
Yeah, so there was like when Muppet Christmas Carol came out, then Treasure Island was after that, and it was kind of this. They were kind of like mirror image of this is what Muppets are doing now. It was right after Jim Henson passed away, so they would have one human play like the heavy. So it was Michael Caine as Scrooge in Christmas Carol, and then they kind of did the same format with Treasure Island and had it be Tim Curry, who I've heard people compare the two different performances between Michael Caine and Tim Curry. Michael Caine is great in Muppet Christmas Carol because he plays it totally straight and doesn't treat the Muppets like they're anything different. Tim Curry's so great in Muppet Treasure Island because he's as big as a Muppet and he fits right in. So you never think, oh, there's the human. You think, oh, there's the evil guy. So evil that he actually was. I was watching something recently on the making of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is one of my favorite 80s movies as well. Holy cow.
Robert Zemeckis.
Robert Zemeckis, Back to the Future. Also, a weird reason why Whodunit, the Clue documentary, does not have a question mark after Whodunit, because neither does Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And I thought that would be a weird connection. That makes no sense. It has no reason of existing, but I didn't like the punctuation, so it's not there. Anyway, Judge Doom, the bad guy, played by, in the final film, Christopher Lloyd from Clue and Back to the Future. But before Christopher Lloyd came on, there was big talks, and I think maybe even offered to Tim Curry to play the villainous Judge Doom, and it was decided that he was too scary for the movie. That wasn't even necessarily, when Roger Rabbit was made, it was not made for kids. It's not even technically a Disney movie. It's Touchstone, the adult, and it's PG, and it's got some
very not PG things,
themes in it. And the scene where Judge Doom kills a shoe in Dip is traumatizing for a lot of young viewers because it's very frightening. But so Christopher Lloyd is great, but Tim Curry would have been too evil for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And then another funny Disney tie into Tim Curry is that when they were making their first like adult kind of scary attraction for Disney parks, Alien Encounter, which was all kind of a sound thing where an alien gets out and you're locked into a chair in a spaceship and he basically terrorizes you.
I rode that one. I was on that one.
Well, you must have been very young.
I was very young. I was like 6, maybe 7.
Okay. So the pre-show robot at the beginning is voiced by Tim Curry.
Did not know
it
that.
Originally was the first version they did. He was voiced by the late great Phil Hartman, and it was more of a kind of silly pre-show, and didn't prepare you for how freaky the full show experience of Alien Encounter was going to be. So people kind of felt like they were not prepared mentally for it. So they changed the pre-show, changed the voice of the robot, made it more sinister, and made it Tim Curry. And it is freaky. If you can, YouTube the pre-show of Alien Encounter. I remember the first time I experienced Alien Encounter and hearing the voice. I did know it was Tim Curry, but I thought, I'm going to wet my pants. This is so freaky. And actually, to me, the pre-show, because of Tim Curry's voice and his performance, was even scarier than the actual Alien Encounter. So Tim Curry pops up in a lot of things, and he can be that's the funny thing. He'd be so funny, and then but he also be really scary,
frightening at times. Now I will say, as far as Alien, it was called Alien Escape or Alien Encounter.
Alien Encounter.
Alien Encounter, and this was the one.
The extraterrestrial.
That's okay. We're talking about the same in Walt Disney World.
Yeah, it was originally going to be in Disneyland. They put it in Walt Disney World in the Magic Kingdom in Tomorrowland.
Yeah, of all places. And I remember there's actually a very few things so full disclosure, my dad had he was in telecommunications, and his company had Buena Vista as a client. Buena Vista is like the corporate side of Disney or something at the time. I don't know if is Buena Vista still a thing?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Maybe.
But they were like the corporate side. So Buena Vista was a client, and my dad's company was in charge of putting all the telecommunications in the park. That was like their company's job. Yeah, really cool. The best part about it was, so this is probably 1997 through 99-ish era, 96 through 99-ish. And so the best thing is when I was a kid, we got to go to Disney all the time when I was very young, because he had that relationship. And we would have like a personal guide sometimes, and it was great. Anyway, I remember, though, being there as a young man at the extraterrestrial thing, the terror-estrial, the Alien Encounter. And there's like 3 like vivid things I remember about that, even as young as I was. I remember one, when the alien appears there's like a tube in the middle, right?
Yeah.
There's like a tube in the middle of like a theater almost. And the alien appears in the middle of it. It looks very menacing. And this is like the alien from the movie Alien, right? Is who it's supposed to look like.
It's
right?
not that alien, but it's
like formed in that image.
It's a very large, creepy looking alien in the dark. So you're only getting glimpses of, you can see that he's got big eyes, big teeth, and wings, and he's pretty scary.
And so he's in there. And then if I remember the story right, Like, at one point, something malfunctions, and he starts breaking out of the glass tube. Okay. Then everything goes quiet, and then, or dark, and then you hear him, like, running through the thing. And then at one
the
point,
theater in the round. Yeah.
there's a theater in the round. So you hear him running through, and you feel like the vibrations, and you hear the footsteps kind of surround sound you. And then these two guys who appear on the screen, like freaking out. I think they end up shooting him, or someone shoots him at one point. This is from my memory. I don't know if this is what happened.
No, you keep going. I like to hear what your version.
But from my memory, there's two guys who appear on like a screen, and they're talking about him breaking out, and it's like, I think, a red light flashing. This is what I remember. And then at one point he's shot. The alien is shot, and you feel like some water drip down the back of your neck. This is what I remember. This could be completely wrong. And I remember that, like, they killed him, and there's his blood going down the back of your neck, I guess is what it's supposed to be like. And then the only thing else I remember is after getting off the ride, there was a lady who probably was in her mid-30s to early 40s having a heart palpitation. Like, literally where paramedics had to get called over because she was really freaked out and having trouble breathing. And this is what I remember. So did they not kill him in it?
That was actually a cast member, and she had to do that every. No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say, what?
No, that was staged. Her name was anyway. He does die at the end. That's interesting. Your memory is pretty good. There were people on the screen. It was actually there was the leader of this corporation, who was played by Jeffrey Jones, who was Principal Rooney in Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
And then he had two kind of minions, and it was Kevin Pollak and Kathy Najimy.
Wow. Okay. Did not know that.
They were like his goons, and they were trying to send Jeffrey Jones to meet you all through teleportation, and they accidentally beamed the alien instead into the theater. He got out. He runs amok. He breathes on your neck. You had shoulder restraints as if you were on a roller coaster that went upside down, and they would bounce up and down on you. And he would, breathe on your neck. There'd be hot air. There'd be dripping things. There's at one point where I don't know if it was I think it was a live cast member was up in the rafters, would come out like with a flashlight and go, "Hey, I'm here to help you." And the alien fights him and kills him, and blood drips down on you from the rafters. And then at the end, they get the alien back into the canister. And before they can seal the canister down, they apply too much power to the teleporter, and he explodes. And that's what gets all over.
That's what it is. Okay, so I was close. Close.
That was you got the main points. And
that's my memory.
You pointed out why it's not there anymore.
It was frightening. It was completely frightening, especially to me. Like I was legitimately scared of that. And then they replaced it with Lilo and Stitch, I think, right?
Yeah, Stitch became the Stitch encounter, and then he just burped on you instead.
Well, that's nice.
And
but can you imagine? I want to go back to Who Framed Roger Rabbit before we wrap this minute up. I want to go back to actually a couple things on this before we wrap it up. Who Framed Roger Rabbit with Tim Curry. So do you think that this is a net positive, a net negative for the movie if Tim Curry's cast in Judge Doom's role?
Boy, I'm trying to picture like specific scenes. I think it's a draw. I think it would have been great both ways.
Okay.
I think Christopher Lloyd is fantastic in it.
So good.
But I can also imagine Tim Curry at the end where he reveals what he really is and going way over the top with that. I think it could have been nuts in all the right ways. So I don't know. I think I wish we lived in a world where we could have both.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. To me,
in a world where Dwayne The Rock Johnson plays Judge Doom as well.
Well, you know what? I'm kind of in on that. But Christopher Lloyd was so good in that Judge Doom role. It's hard for me to see anyone else because of Christopher Lloyd. As much as Tim Curry has that sinister voice or can turn on that sinister voice, there's something of Christopher Lloyd's facial structure that made him really good for Doom. You know, the kind of pointed chin and the gauntness that he had in that movie.
That's
And
true.
and then I will say, as somebody watching a movie for the first time, Christopher Lloyd being revealed as a cartoon, Judge Doom being revealed as a cartoon, and the cartoon that killed Eddie Valiant's brother, if I
Yeah.
search it right,
Yeah.
is one of the great reveals in cinematic history.
Do you remember me, Eddie? When I killed your brother, I talked just like
And the thing is, what's great about the Back to the Future movies, are really, and because this is in the same period. I mean, because you're thinking 85 is Back to the Future 1, 88 is Who Framed, 89 is Back to the Future 2, bless you, and then
Thank you, sir.
90 is Back to the Future 3. God bless you. So
Sorry,
in,
sorry. I'm allergic to Christopher Lloyd.
in 5 years, Zemeckis pumped out 4 movies.
Yeah.
I guess it's probably started in 1984. So let's just say 6 years. He pumped out.
Yeah, give him Romancing the Stone, too.
And yeah. Oh, yeah. That was 83?
They came out in 84.
That came out in 84. Jeez.
I think so.
Okay, so give him 6 years. That's Romancing the Stone, Back to the Future, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3 in 6 years. Incredible run. Like one of the great runs of all time. And then
Oh, my gosh.
then he follows that up with, was Forrest Gump the next one? I don't know. But it's somewhere close. Yeah, it's somewhere close. But think about especially in the middle 4 movies of the 3 Back to the Futures and Who Framed. What's so great is there are these little moments that once you are aware of the ending of those movies, you can go back and you can see all these little things that you didn't notice. And in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I never you don't realize at first that when he backs up from the dip. Remember when the dip's kicked over or spilled over and Christopher Lloyd backs up from it?
Yeah.
Should have been a dead giveaway, right? Knowing what you know now, it's a dead giveaway. Oh, he's a cartoon. Why don't we know this?
You can't get it on him.
Because he can't get it on him.
And he puts the gloves on when he does the dip.
Now, here's the other question. Who is Wadsworth's friend?
Who owns the house?
Yes.
This house belonged to a friend of mine I've known all along.
Mm-hmm.
Bill? Officer Bill?
And
Probably.
doesn't he make himself a prime suspect, as is pointed out by the Game Piece characters? And I love how he just goes, if I did it, why would I tell you how I did it? Because you're about to kill all of them. Right? I mean...
Yeah, they're all pretty, like, forgiving on him. Like, if it was me, why do I tell you? Like,
and they're like, oh, yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
Because you're about to kill us all? Yeah, that's why.
So, and we don't ever really understand.
You're right. I wouldn't let that slide.
Yeah. I think once the endings get here and we hear the explanations of all 3, we can theorize a little bit more of who the friend might have been. Because in one of the endings of this movie, this scene should have been so concerning to everyone in one of the endings. And I guess we'll get to it when we get to it. But I don't know.
Notice it is the analytical Mr. Green that is the one that says, so it could be him.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing he didn't do was take off his glasses, because that's usually what he does when he's serious. I like to point out that Miss Scarlet gives a good smack to Colonel Mustard when she says, we found the secret passage together. And then he just, topples. Well, you found it. You couldn't have known about it the whole time. It's funny how, for the most part, I was thinking about this today, the male characters in Clue play it pretty low key. And the female characters are way more over the top. Because when I'm thinking about like Christopher Lloyd, what's great about him and as Judge Doom as well is I think Christopher Lloyd is great when he is subtle, when he's quiet. Because the thing we always think of him is Taxi and Back to the Future, where he's
over the top,
bigger than life. And I was even thinking about the character Professor Plum, especially in the 80s, could have been played so much bigger as being like this pervy guy. And instead, Professor Plum, like his pervy ways in the movie is like checking out boobs whenever he gets a chance. but it's never like a big close up of him going, "Brrr," you know, and looking at him, like sticking out his tongue, going humana humana humana. It's just he lives in a world where he has to get his glances when he can, but he also knows not to stare like a eclipse because you can't stare at cleavage. You have to get an idea of it and then look away. Seinfeld fans.
Oh, I knew exactly where you're going with that one.
Yeah, I know
Russell
you did.
Dalrymple's daughter? Is it his
Played
daughter?
by
Denise Richards.
Denise Richards.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. One of the great '90s beauties, I would say. Right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, she was breathtaking as Christmas Jones. For those who don't remember from The World's Not Enough.
I was gonna say Wild Things, but that's
Wild Things is definitely a movie that. Yep.
Yeah, that's a movie. That is a movie.
That's a movie. It is a movie.
And Bill Murray is fantastic in that. And so is Kevin Bacon.
Well, you know what? I think we've wrapped up this minute.
We talked so little about Clue this time.
We did, guys.
I feel bad.
We'll be back. I mean, look, there's more to talk about.
I got Tim Curry a lot, though. And Tim Curry, you know, God bless him. And we also talked about Tim Curry without even mentioning Rocky Horror Picture Show. But I think that's because you and I aren't like big Rocky Horror Picture Show guys.
I'm not a Rocky
that's
Horror
where
Picture Show guy.
we're weird on that. We go to Home Alone, we go to Muppets, we go to, I know of a certain age, especially when I was growing up, girls knew the movie Annie, which he is a bad guy in, and that's great. But I didn't see Annie until way later in my life. And then the great thing about Tim Curry is he would just kind of pop up in things, or you would hear him in cartoons like Peter Pan and the Pirates and stuff like that in the 90s. And then he'd show up on a show like Psych.
He was on Psych, American Duos. Yeah, I think that was a premiere of season 2 or something like that. Somewhere in there. Yeah, no, I know we didn't talk a lot about it, but guess what? Look, we still got 20.
Yeah, we still got lots
more
of episodes
of this.
I've seen people on social media go, it's so sad that the podcast is about to end. Like, well, that's kind of true, but
we also got half a year.
Yeah, we've got months and months and months, everybody. It's not. Don't start looking for your next podcast yet. We've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we still got more to get through. We got the big endings, and this is more of the reveal. And you know what? The thing is, this is to recap these minutes entirely is like recapping minutes that we already recapped because he's just recapping what happened.
We are recapping a recap.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to do. But guess what? You just got 45 minutes of it, so enjoy that.
Hey,
but until
hope
next
you like Disney parks and.
I wanted.
Hope you really like Ghostbusters.
I actually really wanted to talk to you about David Letterman. We'll have to save that for another podcast.
David Letterman.
Yeah. All right. But anyway, until next time, that's the Gilmore and Jeff Smith. My name is Brad Gilmore, and we'll be back with minute 73 of the podcast.
Hurry up, tape running out.